It's that time of the year again, when we wax nostalgic for the year past and see how far we've come. For the Supreme Court, 2024 was action-packed and full of excitement, not least because it was a year that saw a general election and the retirement of one of the most high-profile Chief Justices of our times. The court bustled with Constitution Bench activity, took up the most number of suo motu cases in 2 decades, and handed out judgments impacting important constituencies like taxpayers, voters, and minorities. We at the Supreme Court Observer watched these activities closely and documented the work of the court in our living archive, analysis, and data sections of the website. Over the last week, we've also put together several articles as part of our much-awaited annual review series. The flagship publication was a review of the year's top 10 judgments. This list included a string of bail orders for opposition leaders, which seem to have turned the tide around how the PMLA's strict bail provisions are interpreted. The list also includes one of the most important reservation-related judgments of our time, the upholding of states' power to create subclassifications within SC/ST categories. Another case in our list marked India's ascension to a small group of countries that explicitly criminalized the possession of child pornography. Our team also contributed a case each to an alternative list. These were cases that didn't make to the top 10, but we felt could potentially move the needle on important aspects of lives and livelihoods in India. We've also published a series of thematic reviews. The one on child rights highlights judgments that offered much-needed clarity on aspects of the Juvenile Justice and POCSO Acts. The top court also defended the rights of children from minority groups, upholding their right to education in minority institutions and acknowledging that discrimination against them is a pressing problem. Our review of the court's intervention in the election season looks at 5 decisions, including the challenge to the electoral bond scheme, where the court took a stance on issues concerning free and fair elections and voters' right to information. The selection of judgments on religion and culture highlighted the court's inclusive approach in a year where incidents of communal polarization were regular features. In one case, the court stayed a circular of a Mumbai college that banned hijabs. In another, it undertook a broad interpretation while laying down parameters to identify minority institutions. One judgment even reaffirmed the inclusion of the word secular in the Constitution's preamble. Our overview on center-state cases highlights a trend of the court batting in favor of lawmaking powers of the state on subjects as important as mineral taxation, industrial alcohol regulation, and subclassification in affirmative action. This advancement of fiscal federalism was a shot in the arm for the states, which are looking for ways to raise revenue in a post-GST world. Our data-driven analysis of the court's suo motu jurisdiction revealed that the court took matters in its own hands on 12 occasions this year, the most in the last 2 decades for which such data is available. Though this may appear to be indicative of a proactive court, our study showed these directives fell short of achieving their intended effect. 12 is also the number of Constitution Bench decisions pronounced this year. Though this is 6 judgments fewer than 2023, it well exceeds the 4 judgments in 2022 and 3 in 21. It is also credit to CJI Chandrachud, who successfully closed the file on the 16 Constitution Bench cases he drew up benches for when he first assumed office in 2022. There's lots to watch out for next year. 2025 will see 5 retirements, including of Justice Bela M. Trivedi, one of the only 2 women judges in the court presently. In May, Justice B.R. Gavai is expected to take over from Justice Sanjeev Khanna as Chief Justice. Later in November, the baton will pass to Justice Surya Kant, who is scheduled to be in office for over a year. Several critical Constitution Bench cases remain pending, such as the constitutionality of sedition, a review of the Sabarimala judgment, and the question of whether a speaker who has a motion for removal against them can oversee disqualification proceedings against other MLAs. We'll be here as usual, watching, recording, reporting. Our aim to demystify the court and make its proceedings accessible is supported strongly by your interest and encouragement. So I'd like to thank you, our dear readers and our viewers, for sticking around. From all of us at the Supreme Court Observer, we wish you a happy New Year.